Take care, enjoy your day.
Hey, Uncle Sam. Wow. Well, this looks like trouble. Jamie, nice to meet you. I'm another Jeff. Hi, Tim. Hey, Nick. Hi, Spence. Oh, what happened to the beard? We have some VIPs here from Canada, so could we have some comments from the peanut gallery? And we're part of the executive working Canada, and we're going to fix the next World Cup one way or another. Cheers.
Shut down this end.
Wait, let's make it easy.
Changes down this end. Nice day for a ferry ride, is Sam?
Yeah, it is. Kind of basic, but gets the job done.
Yeah.
It just shows that we don't need all that fancy shit BC ferries that we got.
Yeah.
Basically, all you need is a bus on the water.
Yeah.
How many divisions in an army? 10?
We've got Chris Scott here is our guide, and Chris Chance, Captain Chris Chance is speaking.
2
or 3, yeah.
And how many?
When you say how many corps in an army, that actually depends. They could say there were 2 corps.
The population of Britain at the time was about the population of Canada today, about 40 million people. And the number of people that they could put in the field, hundreds and hundreds of thousands, is absolutely mind-boggling to me today. We, you know.
What are we looking at, Chris?
Secrets, you're not allowed to talk about this, all right? This is a map of the Burma Tamil.
Says secret right here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Top secret.
Top secret.
And this is the 1st of July 1916.
You know what? Our father was at that point 3 months old.
Right.
Wow.
This red is the German front line. Okay.
Which?
The red. The red.
Oh, the red, yeah.
And you can see defensive depth. And you can see our line is the blue line here. Okay, all the way down here. Okay.
What's the scale?
Well,
1 to 10,000.
where are we? That is a mile.
Okay, that's exactly what we need.
Okay.
So 1, 2, 3, 4.
The monument that we're going to go and see is up here. Forget about that for a moment. The Tiepal Wood is where the Ulster Division launched their attack up to the Schwabenwood.
All the way down to Switzerland.
And
From the North Sea to the border of Switzerland.
And on the eastern front, was it a
there's
similar or larger
they didn't
size?
get into trenches on the eastern front. There was still, I mean, there were trenches. Okay. And up there, just over that ridge line, was the British front line. Okay, and the Germans occupied Serre, land and sea in the Great War, and took up no.
So these aren't the guys that here find something like that. These are all the missing. Yeah. This isn't all just the Newfoundlanders who died.
High ground, and it dominates the surrounding area. And one of the things that you lose track of on the Somme, but it's quite difficult, you've got to get big maps out to understand it, is that you think, well, the Somme starts there and it ends there, so we've got just a line of defence.
Because if you have the Hispanic vote,
Yeah.
you can carry the country.
We agree with that.
And I think if Rubio, my only qualifier is Jeb Bush does not get Rubio as his vice president, then game's off. And I think that Rubio will be promised all kinds of Dick Cheney-like powers, and will be
Rubio does not have the Hispanic
It
vote.
was originally dug in by the French, then used by the British, and was used by the Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry as a jumping off point for this battle. Does everyone see the white card over there? So that's the Germans' observation trench looking back over this direction. So no man's land here is only about 25 meters wide. So the lines are very, very close to one another. But this is a result of the French pushing the German army up, and then they started exploding craters like this one here. We have our first line of defense for the Allies. And you can see here we have a trench that's running perpendicular to that trench line, and that's a communication trench. Now, of course, the Canadians have been back over here.
Nick, wave to the camera, guys.
Hey, buddy. Going underground here. Going to war. Our insurance is all paid up.
Good.
Want to? Sure. Yeah, just come. Yeah, no problem.
About 8 to 9 meters underground now. And so shells that would have been falling on the surface could penetrate to about a maximum of 6 meters. So the soldiers would have been protected from shell fire down here. Also better protected from the weather elements. Although you can see we have a bit of moisture down here today because it has rained. Now chalk is very, very porous, so it does allow moisture. Greater than the cost of peace. It also shows and thinks of the scars of all those soldiers who did survive and tried to take up their lives at home after this war. How could you, after enduring such horror for 4 years, to live in muddy trenches?
Yeah. That's the, what's it called, the Vimy Ridge Memorial? Is it about a mile away? Where are we?
Well, guys, where are we? We're at the Vimy Ridge Memorial site, which is just up the road there, and we're at one of the main cemeteries here.
Number 2, it's Canadian Cemetery number 2.
Which is an interesting name because actually this is all the Allies are buried here.
We're here at the Vimy Ridge Memorial, the Canadian 60,000 Canadian killed in the First World War.
We're coming.
And here she is. Beautiful.
Right. This is from the British Legion Service of Remembrance. Remember, O Lord, all those, the brave and the true, who died the death of honour and are departed in the hope of resurrection to eternal life, especially all those who served in our sea, land and air forces, to whom it was given to lay down their lives here for the cause of freedom and justice. Give them rest.
We that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Go home, tell them of us, and say, your tomorrow we gave our today.
The final section comes from a lot longer ago, but I think it's appropriate to these ceremonies. Take these men for your example. Remember, like them, that prosperity can only be for the free, and freedom is the sure possession of those alone that are prepared to fight for it. And that's from, what, 2,500 years ago from Pericles, but very appropriate for what we've done today. Thank you very much. I think the thing we might do now.
This is where a Canadian unidentified soldier, they knew he was Canadian, but they didn't know anything more about him.
Yeah.
He was removed in 2000 and taken to Ottawa and put in the tomb of the unknown warrior.
Okay. These are our mixed graves here. Canadian, all Allied graves here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That cemetery was built after the war.
This gate was opened in 1927. It was opened by a guy called Plumer, who was a very well-known general, very popular with his troops. He was the man who took a lot of trouble.
And what's the...
5,000 names of unknown soldiers.
No, 54,000 here.
54,000, sorry, I'm out by 1,000.
I think it's actually 55.
Why is it called the Menin Gate?
It's on the road to Menin.
Ah.
We're envious of their wealth. And Ypres became a fortified town because of that. And a lot of these walls were totally destroyed. And they've rebuilt them.
These are rebuilt since the war?
Oh, yeah.
How long ago was this built?
Well, this would probably have been built in the 20s or 30s, but the original was probably 400 years old. A salient.
Yes.
And this is Ypres, and this is the salient. And we'll be going to various places. That is Passchendaele, up there.
J.P. Robertson, VC, Victoria Cross, 27th Battalion, Canadian Infantry, 6th of November 1917, age 35. He was a private. Behold how good and how pleasant it is, brethren, to dwell together in unity.
From his mother. From his mother.
Okay, what's the significance?
Canadian Victoria Cross.
Oh, okay.
But I reckon that the Second World War, if you remember, you've got to include the Pacific War.
Right.
That was a genuine world war. I don't think this was quite. This is a European.
Yeah.
51 million?
That many?
Well, if you think of the number of
That's
people who died in air
damage,
raids.
too. Collateral damage too.
Well, just Hiroshima was a...
Well, yes, but I mean, look what happened to the German cities. Totally destroyed. Dresden firestorm, more people died in that than died in Hiroshima. Or Vancouver Corner, as it is correctly called, the site of the first gas attack during the First World War, early April of 1915. And if you've been a Canadian in a trench here, looking in that direction over there with heat behind you, you would have suddenly seen clouds of green smoke appearing from the German lines, and a gentle breeze was blowing it towards you. It largely affected French North African troops on our left flank, but however, some gas came into the Canadian trenches. Chlorine, extremely dangerous. Get enough of it into your lungs and you will drown. That's what it does to you. Are we all there? Here we are. Now look, if you look over there, do you see the concrete structures there? Yes. That actually is part of a forward field dressing station. And they used to operate people in there. We'll go in there in a minute and have a look. It wasn't much fun to be brought back injured to a field dressing station like this and then have a German shell land on your head. So that provided some protection for soldiers who were receiving medical treatment. This grew up, this cemetery, because of the field dressing station, which is the case with a lot of the cemeteries when they started. And you can see that the gravestones are sort of all over the place, facing in all sorts of different directions. And it was actually much worse than that at the end of the war, because they used to sneak out in the night when it was quiet and bury somebody very quickly, because it was dangerous to be out. You were not safe from German shell fire. We're very close to Ypres here, which is just down there, okay? The front line will be behind me, up here. A dangerous area. Now the medical officer here was a man called John McCrae, who we all know about. And the story told is that John McCrae was on duty here. I mean, he was the guy who ran the place when a young Canadian officer was brought in who he knew and liked, and he was grievously injured, and he operated on him that evening over there, and he died on the table, and he'd upset him greatly. And they came out here and they buried him in the middle of the night. There was no padre. John McCrae read the service over his grave. Sad business. Well, the following morning, by all accounts, he was sitting somewhere up there on this bank.
Found him.
No, I don't know if we've got any gardeners amongst us. Well,
I think we do right here.
if you take a spade and you dig up earth which has been undisturbed for years and turn it over and let the rain, the wind and the weather get at it, there will be dormant seeds in there, and up will come flowers, plants which you had no idea were there. And the spades here were German shells. And in the spring he was sitting up there after he buried this young man. And that's apparently where he wrote the poem, because as he looked out over here, most of the seeds that had come up and were blooming were red poppies. And the poppy has become the symbol. The poppy has become the symbol of remembrance, and there's no doubt about it that it started with him. All the rest of it. When we start laying wreaths, you will be going after these people. When you get to the front of the queue, the four of you are together like this.
Welcome to the Staring Act of Remembrance. May I kindly ask you to remain silent and not to applaud during and after the ceremony. Thank you.
not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them. Waking up here this morning, last day of our trip at this lovely 2-star hotel we're staying at here in rural France. We feel like we're in the middle of nowhere, but we had a spectacular dinner last night, and our rooms are this little town. Can't have more than about 50 people living in it. Not even enough for a store, but it's in here. It's about 1200. These buildings date from the 1700s, we're told. We're here at a German cemetery outside of Verdun, where there are about 3,000 crosses. And each cross accounts for 4 people. So there's 12,000 German soldiers buried here.
When was this originally built? 1920s. With this American's private money.
It's pretty cracked on
this
that.
was
on
not
that side
yeah,
there.
exactly.
Where we are and what we're looking at?
Well, we're in near Verdun in the south of France, as you already know, and we're at a cemetery that has been erected by an American, curiously enough, because I guess the American forces were down here later in the war, and he spent his own money to erect this because the French government wouldn't. It's a defensive trench position of the French army, and was deeded to France. And they're now going through a restoration. Obviously, they haven't started yet because it's badly cracking and stuff. And these are all unknown graves all the way up. There's half dozen of them or so. It's quite effective because of the open dirt and the barbed wire that we're looking at here, and the pillars and stuff. It's quite a lovely.
Looking at here, Mike. What's the?
This is the ossuary.
What's an ossuary?
Ossuary is a collection of bones. It's like a mass grave, but not in the ground. And this was designed to be, and I could see it from a long distance away. It's designed to be seen. You can see the top end of it from, I mean, I think I checked, we were about 15 k's away.
17,000 graves here.
Somebody said just now, you know, what was the point of a static fort like this? In some sense, there's no point at all. Because what people did, they either had weapon systems which could take them on by the time this wall came along, and the other thing they did was just to go around it.
These walls down here in the ditch.
So you could be can we walk underground and be in there?
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
So I'll give you another example. We were talking about defensive positions. One of the other famous ones is Louisbourg in Nova Scotia, built by the Acadians, the French, and they built a huge fort
in a protected.
What are we seeing here, Sam?
Well, this looks like a dormitory. I think it's set outside, and obviously place of some kind of worship to the fallen. But this is an interesting relief map here, which shows the terrain, and that would be west, and this would be east. There's Duomo. I must say it doesn't look quite that dramatic outside in terms of elevation you see here. And the Germans advanced from the west, from the east here, up this hill, and I guess pushed the Germans right back, somewhere back, the French back here, and then they got driven back again, all for a zero-sum game over the space.